We're going to kind of dive into the discussion we had planned for today. We're going to talk about transgender people in sports. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. I know that this is astonishing to a lot of people, but this must be discussed, and we're going to discuss it in a little bit different way than it's been discussed in the mainstream media recently. Um, First, let's define our terms so that we can get all of this correct. Transgender people are people who identify as um, a gender different from that gender normally associated with their physical sex at birth. Is that a reasonable definition, you think? I don't think that is controversial in terms of a definition. Uh, the interesting definitions begin with what is a trans woman. A trans woman is a male to female gender reassignment. And a trans man is a female to male gender reassignment. And this is an interesting way of manipulating the language here.
Doesn't
But
gender
that's
reassignment mean surgery?
gender reassignment surgery means gender reassignment surgery. Now, a gender reassignment can be something that a person has done to themselves psychologically. And I'm going to operate from the standpoint here of the following definitions. Gender is a psychological construct, and physical sex is the biology. Now, you may disagree with that, and that's fine, but those are the way I'm going to be using the terms today. Gender is the psychology. How you identify is psychological. Okay, and the interesting thing about this is the way the media has portrayed this controversy, and it's a very hot topic recently, and we thought long and hard about even dealing with this because this is going to piss so many people off so bad, and some people have already stopped listening. I understand that, and that's probably for the best. But for those of you that are still with us, we want to talk about this from a little bit different perspective. Now, let me show you something. I've drawn a little graph here. How's that look in the shot? Is that all right? I want you to notice that men and women lie along a continuum of physical performance. All right, there are roughly two bell curves. Now, the bell curves represent the normal distribution of athletic performance in both men and women. Note that there is a peak in the middle of the bell curve. This is where average occurs, where the majority of the data lies. And there, at the kurtotic tails of the curve, there are outliers. Some people who do very badly, some people who are elite athletes. The elite athletes are on the right-hand side of the graph. I'm right-left dyslexic. I'm real bad about that, so I wanted to make sure of that. So the elite people are on the right, and the wombats are on the left, all right? The physical idiots. We all know who we are. Those of us who are physical idiots are not afraid to admit that, and those of us who are physical geniuses, natural athletes, also know who we are. The vast majority of us are in the middle at the top of the bell, somewhere along the top of the bell and on the sides of the bell. And I want you to notice the overlap between the two. All right? Now, this representation on this graph is the facts. These are the facts. Okay? And furthermore, you all know that these are the facts. All right? Women in general, do not perform at the level of men athletically in terms of speed, strength, or any other type of measurement. But in the middle, there is some overlap. Some gifted females are better than some ungifted, untalented males, thus the overlap. We are not pretending that this overlap does not exist. So that would, if you're going to construe that that's the case, that's a straw man that I'm not interested in talking about. Because that's not what we're saying is the actual case, okay? In fact, there are a couple of instances in the literature where, well, let's don't get into that until we get finished with some of the other facts here. Here's another fact: testosterone appears in the fetus at 8 weeks along. Okay, I mention this right up front because I want to get out of the way one of the straw man arguments that is the predominant argument in the media in this situation. What is said over and over and over and over and over again until it's just nauseating in its repetitive ignorance of the situation is that current levels of testosterone in the body are responsible for current performance levels. This is a factual, incorrect statement. There are two effects that testosterone has on the human body. The first effect is that which occurs in utero. At 8 weeks post-conception, testosterone begins to be secreted. And testosterone secreted in utero has extremely, extremely profound effects on the resulting phenotype after birth. And I think you all know that there are differences, profound differences that result from the concentrations of testosterone in the fetus. For example, a little boy, when he's born, having been exposed to very high levels of testosterone in utero, comes out with a little boy TT. A little girl who's been exposed to very, very low levels of testosterone in utero comes out with a little girl's TT. And we're all aware of the fact that boys and girls' TTs are different. This is how profound the effects of in utero testosterone are. And it is a gigantic, serious mistake, although it's a very popular mistake to make these days, where we say that the differences in male and female performance are strictly a function of testosterone that is available right now, today, acute levels of testosterone in the body. Things are changed by in utero testosterone that are far more profound than just the TT, okay? Dr. Deborah So has done a lot of very good work dealing with this issue from the standpoint of psychology, brain development, neuroscience. And what I'm going to tell you today is that the changes don't stop there. There are neuromuscular efficiency changes that are the result of the in utero exposure to the fetus to testosterone. And these things are responsible for essentially all of the prepubescent differences between little boys and little girls. Now, if you have little boys and little girls, and you've got daughters and sons, you as parents are aware of the physical differences between these kids. When they're 3, when they're 2 sometimes, they're different little creatures. And they have not gone into puberty, and they do not have elevated levels of hormones, sexual hormones in their bodies. Nonetheless, the sex hormones that were present in utero have produced profound changes in these kids. Those of you ladies that grew up with a bunch of brothers know this already, don't you? You know this to be true. Those of you parents with athletic little boys and athletic little girls know that there are differences between even athletic little boys and athletic little girls. But what's also interesting is those of you with just boys know that there are differences between the boys that are evident when they were kids, when they're little kids, prepubescent kids. One of them is more explosive than the other. One of them's quicker. One of them's more agile. One of them plays harder. One of them hits harder than the other. All right? These differences are attributable to the changes that are produced in utero by sex hormones, and specifically by the presence of testosterone. And there are, of course, outliers. It's important to understand that we are not talking today about intersex people. Now, people that didn't make it this far into the discussion have already turned this off and have said that, well, Ripeto's talking about, he's ignoring the presence of people in sports that are born between sexes. And this does occur. It's not very common, but it does occur. There are chromosomal tests for this, and indisputable variations in the predominance of secondary sexual characteristics between some people. But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about people who are born male who decide to identify as female later on in their life. If you are born male, you are born with a more efficient neuromuscular situation, more efficient neuromuscular efficiency, more efficient neuromuscular recruitment, more efficient use of your muscles than you are if you're born female. This is not my fault. This is just an observation of the facts. It's borne out by all of the phenomenology.